Thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. It's October 28th, the middle of the day on a Friday, and I have just been the victim of a racist attack. I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk about the 2022 midterm elections. I want to talk about the New York 19th race, one of the most competitive races in the entire nation. I want to talk about what we can do in the face of racism, especially as it's tied to politics. We're going to talk about all of that in just 1 second. Now, I do want to mention, if this is the first time that you're seeing our channel, we want to welcome you. We thank you for being part of our audience. I want you to know we do long-form political commentary. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on all the social media that the internet overlords will allow to hear your voice, to hear the First Amendment, your freedom of speech, to talk about the issues that matter to you from anywhere in the world. Through tweets and chats and phone calls, we listen to your voice. And we hope that you will join us this Sunday, as every Sunday, when we talk about the issues that matter to everyone. But I want to go through what happened today. This is a hard subject. It's hard to explain. Well, no, it's not. It's easy to explain. It's racism. It is point blank racism. And it's something that I am putting out on Minds. It is on Facebook. It is on Twitter. It is on YouTube now. I am going to make sure that you are known. I will probably get strikes for this. This is going to be sensitive material that's going to be presented to you. And I want you to know about this. Yes, there is a trigger warning. There are sensitive images that are about to be shown. And you need to see this. We need to confront racism and racists wherever they appear. Whether it's on the left, the right, the center, it doesn't matter. But I can tell you from my experience, it's been coming from progressives over and over again. Let me make sure that I make this as clear and complete a discussion as I can. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Josh Riley, an individual who I have known for about 7 years now, is running for the New York 19th district to run for Congress. This is a new district based off of the gerrymandering of the Democratic Party in New York State. That is a fact. It's not a question. The lines are being redone in 2023 because of how gerrymandered the lines are. That is a fact. Josh Riley, who initially at the beginning of this year, 2022, decided that he would run for the New York 22nd race, then ran for the New York 24th, and is now running for the New York 19th because Antonio Delgado abandoned the residents of the New York 19 and has run for the lieutenant governor's seat along with appointed Governor Kathy Hochul. Opening up the seat, Josh Riley jumped in to take that race. Again, I know Josh for 7 years. I have had beers with Josh. I have met Josh's family. Josh is not a racist. I want to be very clear about that. I'm not saying that he is. Now, Josh is running for the New York 19. He promised that he would show up on this program to do an interview with me. He has broken that promise. He has rejected that. Fine. And I have followed this race, and I do comment on this race. And I have done so on Twitter repeatedly. This is an example from October 27th, yesterday, where Josh put out a statement. Quote, "Upstate New York has been sold out by greed in our economy and corruption in our politics. I'm running for Congress to change that. If you're sick of politics as usual and believe, like I do, in the promise of what we can do together, I hope you'll join us." This is his campaign pitch. Fantastic. That's a wonderful comment. He can make that comment. I have no problem with it. I made a response to that, which said, if upstate New York has been sold out, given that the Democratic Party has controlled the state since 1960, and currently the New York State Democrats have single party rule over New York State for years, then the question is, who sold New York State? Who sold out upstate? Why elect more of the Democrats that you have highlighted are corrupt and greedy? These are his words. I'm only putting context to it about New York State. It is a fact. New York State has been run by Democrats since the 1960s. The assembly and the legislature and currently the governorship have been in the hands of one party for many years now. And if New York is corrupt at this moment, as Josh Riley says, then that corruption is coming from Democrats who control it all. So I asked Josh, do you think voters are mindless minions? Now, is that harsh for me to say to someone who I know, someone who I've spoken to for years, someone who I have their personal phone number? Maybe, but it's also politics. This is about politics, not Josh as a human being, but about his political position and what he has said, which is, I believe, deceptive to the public. If you don't agree with that, that is fine. You can say you have a different political view. I have no problem with that. But this is the question I posed to Josh Riley, the candidate, for the candidate to respond. Instead, I had a different individual, an individual that calls themselves I love type. This is a vegan most of the time. That's about all I know. And this individual, who's been on Twitter for a couple of years, said, well, Mark Molinaro has a record of selling out Dutchess County, and his goon, Susan Serino, protects sleazy business owners and greedy landlords all over the 41st State Senate District, and has goons in New York City as well. I then decided to do a Google search to see what this individual is talking about, because there is no record of that. I had never heard of this. And I responded. The Google search, the first 5 pages of a Google search on Sue Serino shows zero confirmation of any of the claims that this vegan and supporter of Josh Riley has made. So you're mudslinging, you're throwing mud, you're trying to just dirty the waters. Further, Serino is not running for the New York 19th District, which is what I was speaking about. You're changing the subject to try and distract from the weakness of Josh, because his comment is a direct comment on Democrats. Demonizing opponents does not make Josh or Hochul or Biden good for America, which we have seen Joe Biden do in his Reichstag speech down in Philadelphia. We have heard that from the comments with Kathy Hochul. Why are you so concerned about crime? And we're hearing that from Josh. The comment was a poor attempt to refute what I had to say. The vegan, and apparently a progressive, comes back with a bunch of cropped images of different photos, making allegations that are not supported by any mainstream media, any reporting that I could find. Just making allegations, just attacking the character of a candidate, of an individual who is in elected office without any verifiable proof. That does not sway me. And so I said, random cropped images from unknown sources is a propaganda trick. But I do agree with the Brandon chant. FJB. You don't have to like that. You don't have to see the humor in it. You don't have to agree with it. That's perfectly fine. It is a satire. And you don't have to agree with the quotes. Maybe you think those clippings, those random images that he put out there, maybe you think they're valid. I don't. I don't know who wrote that. I don't know what context it's from. I don't know if it's real or not. I'm sorry. I don't put weight behind that, which is why I always provide links to everything that we do on this channel and all the comments that we make. We show you the evidence. We show you the sources so that you can see it for yourself. So this vegan, a vegan progressive apparently, tries to quote me saying, oh, well, demonizing candidates is a bad thing and not good. But then I'm also agreeing with the Brandon chant. So that means that I'm not good for America. I'm somehow a bad guy because I said I agree with the chant. And then they start to curse me out. Okay, and this is where it starts devolving. I said, no, that just means I enjoy satire, which FJB means, and political commentary. Seems you are unaware of the differences. Hopefully, you will learn before you vote, but I doubt it, because it is satire, political satire, and it is political commentary. And if you don't find it funny, if you do not enjoy it, that's up to you. And you can perfectly say, I don't agree with that. I think it's too far. I think it's in bad taste. You can do that. That's fine. That's your opinion. But my politics are my politics. We don't confuse the two. And I've been very clear about that. Notice, I have not been personal. These aren't personal attacks. This is about politics. The response I get, and this is the one that you can see currently, right now, it is 12:46 p.m. on October 28th. You can see right now that for the last hour, the comment has been up there. I'm not going to say the racist term that they have put up here. This is a racist attack. This breaks the terms of service for Twitter. This breaks the terms of service, I think, for all social media. But I want you to see this. Oh, I see we have a house racist slur. Here, you enjoy white bread sausage. Now, this is a sexual comment. Now, it's a sexist statement. He's now attacking my sexuality and trying to infer, it seems, that I'm gay. I'm not. But now that's a sexual slur being used against me. Something that progressives always say you can't do. You can't attack people for being gay. If I were gay, this would be a homophobic statement. Is it not? Then he goes on to say, do you bend it over and bust it open for Trump like MM does? Guess what? This is racist, this is sexist, and you can't even call it political anymore. This is an attack. This is nothing but a racist attack because it seems that this vegan progressive has come out and failed to have anything else to say. Their argument has failed. They do not have any comment to come back with because it seems they don't know any of the actual issues or can actually delve into the issues being presented. Instead, they parrot what they see in headlines from the left-leaning media. And when someone isn't playing that game, they don't know how to respond. They don't think independently. They just spout anger and venom. And this is why this individual, I Love Type 2022, is a horrendous racist. So I go on to say, there you go. You lost the discussion, so you resort to personal attacks and racism. So consistent for the far left, bottom of the barrel tactics, which is what I have experienced over and over again. Because I have seen some of the worst racist comments I have received in my life have happened in the last roughly 9 to 10 years. And they have come predominantly from the far left. I have seen progressives, and I have video of progressives surrounding me in mobs of 50 to 75 people, screaming at me for hours, calling me a racist, Uncle Tom, racial slurs, because I dared to say I am a black conservative Republican. And this individual on Twitter is doing exactly the same thing as he tells me Mark Molinaro is bad and Josh Riley is good. And I have met both of these men. I have met and interviewed Mark Molinaro in the past. I have spoken for Josh Riley in years in person. And neither of these men are racist, to my knowledge and my experience. Neither of these men deserve that kind of bottom of the barrel scum kind of commentary. But here's the thing, and I sent out a message to Mark Molinaro and to Joshua Riley to look at the chain of comments. But the chain of comments has been changed. And this is where it's about to get sensitive. Let me be very clear. This is what you're about to see is going to be sensitive comment. It is offensive comment. It is racist. It is sexist. It is meant to be derogatory, and it is meant as an attack against me. This is evidence that I have sent to Twitter, that I have the photos of, that I am going to share with you to let you see exactly what is being said and how it is being done. Because this coward, this I Love Type 2022, was so cowardly as to make the attack and then delete it to hide it from the public so that you wouldn't know about it, so that you wouldn't be able to see it. Well, this is now 10:51 p.m. on October 28th. And let me show you, because I haven't deleted this yet. I didn't change this. This is my notifications on Twitter. And picking up from where they sent that statement about Mark Molinaro, then he sent me an image. The eggplant image is an insult, both sexual and also racial. Soon it will be, he says, or they say, I Love Type 2022 says, yeah, notice they have now stopped sending the messages to, they previously were sending the messages, and I will show you, they were sending them to Mark Molinaro, and they were sending it to Sue Serino to attack them as well as me. But now, once they become racist, because they know they are being racist, they dropped everyone else from the conversation to minimize the evidence of their racism and their sexism and their progressive mindset. And they say, yeah, you're old and wise. Because I had said, what, you're attacking me because I'm old? Who cares? Called me a boomer. Soon it will be time's up for boomers. Really? You guys are killing yourselves off with bad eating habits and pill popping, which is news to me because I don't do either. Some boomers are dense, like me, he seems to believe. Some are actually with it. Bye, sir. Enjoy your white D meaning a sexual comment. Trump says to be easy with it this time. Notice again, this is a sexual attack. This is a political attack. This is a personal attack. But I'm not afraid. I'm not going away. What else did he send me? Immediately after that, a boomer and an Uncle Tom racial slur. Sucks to be you. Wow. Really? Because I know that's not what Samuel Jackson was meaning to portray when he showed that image. He didn't mean it to come across as being used here. No, he's not done yet, though. He sends yet another image. I love me some white bread, master. That's what he says. That's what he sends to me. Again, racist, sexist, homophobic. Now, he goes on to send another image. This is an attack, and another attack, and another attack. And then he deletes all of his comments. He deletes the comments that he's sending to me. So that now he returns back to what you see here. He returns back to this comment right here, replying back to me. Makes no sense what you said. You guys are total backtalkers and hypocrites. So I guess demonizing opposition is okay if you think it's a joke. I'm sorry. Saying I don't like you or to F you isn't demonizing someone. It's saying you don't like them. It's making a comment. But again, what has he done? He went from personal attacks sent only to me to try and hide his racism, his sexism, his hate, pure, unmitigated, progressive hate. And he hid that because he knew it was wrong, because he knew he had gone too far, because he knew this had nothing to do with the New York 19th race. This had nothing to do with politics. This only has to do with his hate of anyone who does not agree with their ideas and dared to be public about it. Yes, that is sensitive, it is offensive, it is sexist, it is racist, it is ageist, it is homophobic. And I do not support that. Not from Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, nor from the far left or the Democrats or anyone. And I will speak out about that against anyone when they have done those kinds of things. And I have consistently done that in over 1,500 videos. You can look through. You will see me say that and attack the left, the right, and everyone else when they have done that. When it is something that I think is not being addressed by the major news media. I have always done that, and often when it is being addressed by the major news media. Because I am not afraid. I'm not afraid of Antifa, progressive leaders of tomorrow, the Democratic Socialists of America, especially the Ithaca chapter that believes in violence. I do not back down, and I'm not backing down from this Twitter troll, this probably bot account. I'm not afraid. Now, I have sent a message to Josh Riley because I have contact with him. And I have sent him a message and said, you should denounce this. I'm waiting for you to denounce this publicly. Because I know Josh. I've had beers with Josh. He doesn't believe that in the experience I have had with him over 7 years. Therefore, he should and must denounce this because this is not representative of the New York 19. Should not be representative of Democrats or any elected official. And it should not be allowed to exist in the shadows, in the background. This should not happen. And it should be denounced, period. And he should come out as a candidate, as a member of the Democratic Party, as an individual, and as someone who has known me for years and denounce this publicly. Racism, sexism, this bile, this venom should never be allowed to be in our public. It should be called out when we see it. Democrats are very happy to do that when they allege people have made these kind of statements and when sometimes they have politically on the right. Well, it's on the left. It exists the same on the left as it does on the right, and it needs to be called out, and they should speak up. This is wrong. The New York 19 is not racist. America is not intrinsically racist, but there are racists in America. There are sexists and homophobes and every other ism you can think of that exists. They're out there. And they need to be called out for when they show themselves and for what they have said. There's a difference between political commentary. You don't have to agree with my politics. You don't have to agree with my political conclusions. You don't have to agree with that. You don't have to like the humor that I like. Those aren't things that are mandated. You're not required to accept my point of view, just as I am not required by the First Amendment to accept your point of view. And we can live with that disagreement. And if you don't like it, you can always go to another channel. You can follow someone else. You can make comments and reply. You can make point and counterpoint in a discussion. But what we cannot do is devolve to the point of making attacks, not just personal attacks, but racist, sexist, homophobic attacks, trying to silence someone, to cow them by fear and threat and ostracization, to try and cause them to become silent and to not express themselves. That isn't American. That isn't freedom. And that is a terror tactic. I'm very upset about this. It's very obviously because it's very personal and it's not something unusual. This happens to me often, sadly, because I am a vocal individual, because I am a Black Republican, because I vocally support conservative ideas. This happens more often than I care to mention and that I care to show. But it doesn't mean that I have to stand for it. And I will make it public. And I will defend myself. And I will defend others. Because no one should have to go through that kind of bile, that kind of racist, sexist, homophobic insanity. You know what? Progressive leaders of tomorrow, BLM, Indivisible New York, the Democratic Socialists of America. Why don't you all denounce this? If your groups are so good, so morally upstanding, denounce this. Josh Riley, denounce this. Denounce this. This is wrong, and you know it. And you wouldn't stand for that in person when you've been in my person, speaking with me directly. You wouldn't stand for that then. Don't stand for it now just because an election is going on. We don't have to agree on the politics. We don't have to agree on the solutions. We don't have to agree with whether or not you get elected. But we damn sure we should stand together as we make sure that this does not happen in the future, that we call this out and we root it out from the right and the left. I don't know how many people will see this. I don't know if it will be shut off. It is possible that I put this up on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Minds. I will try and get it out into all the social media, but it is very likely that I will suffer a penalty for letting you know about the truth, to let you know that this is happening and it needs to be called out. I've sent messages to the local news media. I would love to talk about this, to call this out and to say this cannot exist in our community, right or left. It doesn't matter. It should not exist for anyone. But social media may flag this and say, oh, well, you just said something. You showed something that was racist. You are going to be removed. It is possible my channel may be removed because I'm going to let you know this exists. I'm willing to take that risk because you deserve to know this is happening. It's happening on the left. It exists. And some people are supporting this and they're using every trick they can to attack people, to try and silence people, to cause people to be coerced into silence. And then they hide what they have done and feign ignorance and feign innocence. No, we'll call this out where it is. We will stop this because I am not afraid. I am not worried, and I am not going anywhere. I will continue to point out the inaccuracies and the illogic that is being put out there. Just like when we see that Josh Riley initially says in his comment that upstate has been sold out by greed and corruption. And the fact is that upstate New York is run by Democrats. Democrats have the state assembly, the state senate, and the governorship, and have had it for years, if not decades. So that's my position. I will continue to call out duplicity or the bad logic that are in elections. I will continue to call out and make my political commentary as I have been doing for 17 years, 10 years here on YouTube. I hope that you will support me. I hope that you will stand by this. I hope that you will allow us to be able to continue to move forward. And I hope most of all that Josh Riley and the Democrats will call this out and demonize this individual and point out how bad they have been, how evil that was for I Love Type 2022 to make those comments, because they're not the only ones. This is not an isolated event. We need to get rid of this from our community, regardless of your politics. But I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Did you think that was racist? Did you think it was sexist? Did you think it was ageist? Did you think it was homophobic? Is that something that should be allowed? Should that person still be on Twitter? Why should the news media point out this story and make it known to the rest of the public, whether it's in the southern tier of New York, the state of New York, or the nation? Don't you think they should let more people know about this? Should Josh Riley denounce this racist, sexist attack? And if he doesn't, why not? I look forward to hearing your comments, and I hope that you will join us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when we do a live stream with you about this and issues that are affecting us everywhere in the world. I know you've heard it before. What difference does it? You make the difference. When you watch, chat, tweets, your likes and shares, and your subscription, you make the difference. From across the world, You help us to keep the lights on and the stream alive. You are making the difference to fight the woke and the crazy legislation that we see before. We at No Soundbites Allowed, and I want to thank you for everything that you do in helping us reach our goal, and your likes, your tweets, your comments, and your subscriptions to the channel. We want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And this is a special thank you to those who have donated to the channel and helped us in all of our efforts. We will strive to make this channel the best that we possibly can, because you deserve no less. Thank you.